I would like to speak to you and spend the time discussing today on our episode, from various different positions, Google, full stop. Because it's been a week in our world, but in Google's world. So I'll start off by just setting the scene in terms of the business. They've announced some quarterly results yesterday.
Yep.
Google parent Alphabet reported a 14% year-over-year revenue jolt as this, so basically 14% year-on-year revenue increase in the second quarter, powered by its cloud and search business. YouTube ad revenue down. So that was a bit of an interesting one. Tech giant continues to spend heavily on AI, investing $2.2 billion to build AI models in its DeepMind and Google Research divisions during the quarter. So big investment, doubling $1.1 billion spent during the same period last year. I've missed this, but cybersecurity startup Wiz this week rejected Google's $23 billion acquisition offer, which would have helped its cloud services. One reason for the collapse deal, I found this was just a right week for Google. The recent CrowdStrike IT outage boosted the potential value of Wiz. So what timing is that for Wiz, which offers security features, blah, blah, blah. So that's the backdrop to things going on with Google. Interestingly, that YouTube revenue is down. Is there anything in that? Does that say anything to you?
Some of that.
Yeah. Doubled investment in AI. Not surprised.
No.
CrowdStrike IT outage, brilliant for Wiz.
Yep.
Landing at a great time. $23 billion acquisition offer been rejected. So wonder what that's going to go up to. But then bringing it in to our world even more so, I'm going to read this headline from 2 days ago. So that was yesterday, I've just talked through, and then Monday, 2 days ago. In shock decision, Google abandons third-party cookie plans. So it looks like the cookie won't be crumbling after all. Let's discuss. So what was your immediate... Well, I know what your immediate thoughts were, but other people who might be hopefully listening, won't know necessarily your thoughts, although I do think we've discussed it on previous episodes. So Google are pulling their plans, or they've announced that they're pulling their plans. How did you react?
It's not even news, is it? I called it ages ago when they announced that they were sunsetting it and they were moving away from cookies. I was like, that won't happen. Lo and behold, it's been pushed back, and now they're just not doing it at all.
Yeah, so Google scrapping, blah, blah, blah. In an announcement made on Monday, search giant indicates that it plans to keep third-party cookies up and running for those who don't disable them. So what they're going to do is plan to roll out a new solution, a one-time prompt that enables users to set preferences that will apply across Google browsing experiences. So they basically said performance won't be affected. So as an agency, how do we think about that? What should we be doing?
First party data, very important.
Yes.
Learning to understand cohorts instead of just looking for what first party cookies provide you. And then look, I mean, we can sit here and go, we started coming, or it needs to be done in a certain way. You're in marketing, you've got to bend to the market. You can't do fucking anything about Google. You can't do anything about Apple. You can't do anything about Microsoft.
No.
You can't do anything about Facebook. So quit whining about it and just fucking measure what you can measure.
It's just news to talk about, innit? But like
it
you're
is at
saying,
this point.
It's not news.
Not really.
But go on, sorry.
It does open up quite a lot of opportunity for better conversations about the actual capability of measurement.
Yeah, so what do you mean by that?
Well, like measuring brand, for example. You can't actually 100% measure brand impact from digital, but you have a lot of things that you can track that are indicative of
signals,
influence in brand. That's a conversation that's probably just not happening enough, because there are agencies still out there that are saying that they can 100% attribute activity.
And brands are falling for it.
So things like this, yes, it's news from Google and a marketing perspective, but the conversations that should be happening off the back of it are big conversations, educational conversations that benefit everybody, rather than it just being,
I found one of, I'm just reading this specific article in the Drum here whilst we talk. They've mentioned major players have raised concerns previously about what looked like the getting rid of cookies. So after 2 months of testing, ad tech firm Criteo determined that Google's privacy sandbox, the company's suite of proposed cookie alternatives before this, would erase publishers' ad revenues by 60%. So, yeah, I understand us sort of saying, like, tongue-in-cheek, it's news, but it's not news. But there's been a lot of a narrative around Google's shift here.
Go back to how you opened up on an earnings call. What were the two responsible parties for the 14% rise?
Where am I looking?
For the two factors that drove up that 14% increase.
So powered by its cloud and search business.
So the latter of that.
Search business, yeah.
Is that going to be something that Google are going to want to, in an age where they're losing share across the board for search, they're losing share for AI, they're losing social.
Yeah.
Are they going to want to lose revenue by depreciating cookies?
I mean, of course they're not.
So,
and that's why
this is what I said years ago when they announced it. I was like, they're not going to do that to the ecosystem.
No.
But they can improve how it works, and they can take Apple's approach to privacy.
Yeah.
I think the thing that caused people to be uncomfortable with
them
cookies was just the sheer audacity that Google had for what they tracked.
Yeah.
Whereas like the GDPR situation and all that brought it to the public's attention to the point where pressure meant that they had to do something. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a few things. I mean, I won't go into them all. I've read the Criteo example there. But are you saying there as well, in particular, that those conversations that that brands, agencies, in-house teams, however you want to put it, marketers, those conversations that should be happening sort of as a result of this news, I'm saying that in inverted commas, should actually have been happening regardless anyway.
Yeah, solutions should be put in place and things should be getting tested that provide as much value in the data that you've got available to you as possible, and that is the whole bottom line of it. Like, you can't do anything about the market. Google's going to do what Google's going to do.
Yeah, you're in their hands, aren't you?
So, unfortunately, you've got to try and provide the best understanding for what you're doing as you possibly can.
What do you think brands should be? Have we got any examples, or if we haven't, what would you want to see our clients asking us, and like how they're thinking, in terms of if they saw this news as maybe being something quite significant? Like what do you have any advice for brands that might be working with agencies or not, in terms of what they do next, what they're asking, if in particular if they're working with an agency?
I think measure what you can, but remember that you can't measure everything, and remember to take stock of where you are. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
The capability doesn't need to match the pace of innovation. You need to get the best understanding that you possibly can for where your pounds and pence is going versus what it's driving you back. If you spend, let's say you spend 100 grand, you want to be able to, at high level, get an understanding of what that is driving you. How many how many pounds back am I getting for that 100 grand? And there are a lot of ways to do that. It's about picking the right metric.
Yeah.
And tying it back to your bottom line. It doesn't matter about impressions. It doesn't matter about clicks is probably a bad example, but yeah, like impressions is one that gets thrown around a lot, but it's not actually something that's going to shift your bottom line.
Yeah.
That's why looking at, like, I think when you do a brand campaign, looking at market share or share of search, and then trying to work that back to your bottom line, 100 grand against a brand campaign, and you don't see any uplift, then you're going to be questioning it, aren't you?
Yeah. And like you say, that's fundamental. These are fundamentals, though, aren't they?
There seems to be a market desire to claim that attribution is so sorted that you can see everything at such a granular level.
But is that because there are attribution companies, software platforms, whatever you want to call them, that are peddling that narrative?
Yeah, to a degree, but I think it's also terror of not having an honest conversation.
And again, is this a void between the marketers that need to maybe then speak to the C-suite?
Yeah, look at Solo Stove.
Yeah,
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
one of the greatest campaigns I've seen in a long time in terms of eyeballs and conversation.
Yeah,
that was a brand campaign. That was an execution that was creatively genius, yet the expectation from the business was that it would absolutely skyrocket sales. Now, there's a couple of things in that time of year bad.
Yeah, when was it?
Summer.
Summertime, yeah.
Bad timing, in my opinion. That was one thing that I was like, that's not the best timing to drop that campaign. And then the reaction from the brand of it didn't increase sales, and the speed in which they came to that decision, which I think it was like 4 weeks after the campaign.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa.
No residual.
So there's a disconnect somewhere. Great creative, great campaign, well executed, fucking delivered a ridiculous amount of coverage. Everybody knew about it, literally everybody.
We're talking about it.
But the sales didn't stack with the expectation. They probably saw an uplift in sales, but it didn't stack with the expectation.
Yeah, we're not going to know who set that expectation, but I wonder if it is a outside of marketing.
I think that campaign delivered everything that the agency will have said that it were going to deliver. But the perception and the expectation from the client will have been misaligned with what that looked like.
Yeah.
At board level, the CEO got sacked.
Yeah.
The CFO were like, it didn't deliver their revenue.
Yeah, I think,
that's what I mean. It's like, if you're going into that campaign and you're spending whatever you've spent on it, and your expectation is that this is going to give us an absolute fucking surge in brand, then that's what you need to put as your North Star for it.
Yeah.
Doing a campaign that's architectured like that and having an expectation that it's going to be direct response and it's going to drive a fuckload of sales is the wrong approach.
Yeah, but that needs managing early by everyone before you commit. It'd be interesting to have...
I'd love to talk to the team that delivered that from the agency.
Just about to say that, fly on the wall for the agency stuff. I mean, the excitement with that brief and that...
It was great.
That landing in the agency world must have been amazing. But yeah, you're right, like that void, that disconnect, which we've talked about so many times, it just goes back to expectations management. So...
I bet that campaign will deliver sales for that brand for 2 years.
It's short-sighted, we talk about it all the time, but it's really concerning how short-sighted the results, the review, the sort of internal review must have happened.
And it won like 3 or 4 of the big awards at Cannes.
Yeah, well, I guess,
But
marketing's...
It feels like that whoever made the call on having that, whether it was the CEO or whether they had a CMO in place, I don't know whether they did.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Was brave enough to sign that off. And I just feel like that's what's so wrong with a lot of the industry, whereby he signed that off. He's been brave enough to sign that off. It was executed really, really well. And the money, it has made the final decision on it.
Yeah.
And yes, you want value, and yes, your money's got to your budget's got to return. But I don't know. I don't know all the information.
No,
It
and
just
also
makes me angry that it was discredited when it was done so well.
budget return. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. But there's got to be realistic there's got to be conversations about realistic expectations from when you like cut it off, when that review is, and someone has to manage that. Someone has to manage the communication of that somewhere, and I don't know whether it was just a brand versus agency void. Perhaps sometimes you can do all you can in managing expectations, and for whatever reason people swooping in or whatever, and this is not just campaign, this is anything, that you try your best to manage expectations, and it someone somewhere it falls foul. Anyway, that was all I really wanted to speak to you about Google, because it's been a bit of a week for them.
Yeah.
In terms of news, anyway, but I like how you think about it as you're sort of nonplussed about it, really.
Google's...
In particular, the cookies thing.
Yeah, the cookies thing. I mean, that's just the market's the market. That's like complaining when house prices go up. It's like the market's the market.
Yeah.
React.
Yeah.
And respond.
Yeah.
That's how I would view it. And it's one of the top 5 businesses in the world, is it?
Alphabet in particular.
So,
listen to those. 2.2 billion.
That's like when Microsoft get slated for the operating system, but it powers so much of the world. They're going to get criticism.
As we saw.
Yeah, fuck. They had a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a bit of a week.
It's been a week for tech.
Yeah.
Apple down.
Yeah.
No. Apple weren't down. Google up somehow, slightly.
Yeah.
Tesla down quite a lot. Microsoft had a blip because of the outage.
Yeah.
Bezos is cashing in $5 billion.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Tech.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Goodbye.